Islam Dwayne is April the 1st, 2020. I'm still at the bus stop, and I just got through not too long ago dropping off. I just got through not too long ago waiting. I just got through not too long ago dropping off the information for food stamps, and the black male, just not even. Let me see what time it is. One of the black males that I gave testimony about that sit in Burger King for hours at a time just drove by staring at me. And I told you, let me see, he is the same black male that I told you on my route to go to my room at American Extended Stay, or at my place where I domicile at. I was in, not about a few blocks away from Whole Foods. He's the one that, like a lot of them, wear the Navy, the Army, or veteran emblems on their hat or on their clothes. Either they imply to be connected to the United States Navy, Army, or a veteran of Vietnam War, or they are. So so I'm going to give you, once again, a history. Right now, it is 4:23 p.m. He just drove by. I'm at Cathedral Street and Calvert Street. Cathedral and Calvert Street, that's the Maryland Social Services. Now, as he drove by, I can recognize his car because he's one of the black males that would sit at Burger King for hours at a time, making, sometimes they speak really, really loud, laughing. I've heard them say more, mo, use words like paid or stuff like that. So he sits at that table where a lot of them use these words. Sometimes I hear them say brother, stuff like that. As I was going back to the room a few weeks back, I documented how I was maybe, I don't know, a square away from Whole Foods, and he came up and parked right next to me. I rarely see people. I've never seen him out when I was out, except for recently. I had started to see him quite often. I saw him inside of Whole Foods, and then he was sitting there. He was sitting there eating, and then he actually came up. He drove up and parked next to me. I just kept walking. I mean, so there's like a corner road, a back road that I take to go to the room that is a block away from Whole Foods approximately. It's a back road. And he took the back road, obviously, and parked next to me. And so I was like, this is odd, because he is, I had to call the police because a black male actually stopped me in Annapolis, Maryland. He kept saying, good morning, good morning, good morning. And I used to see, at first I didn't know quite sure if he was one of the black males or melanated male. He could speak Spanish, I'm not sure, that come into Burger King. But then I did see him. I was like, yeah, definitely this is the guy that actually pulled up next to me and kept saying good morning a few feet, like I had better speak to him. If I don't speak to him, he was going to get aggressive and try to beat me down. So I had to call the cops and make a report. So anyway, so getting back to the present moment, so going back to that time when I was walking, so the guy pulled up next to me. He got out of his car. I just kept walking because I was on my way to go to the room. Then I remember before that happened, I also saw him. I have never seen him at Whole Foods, but I was on my way to Whole Foods and I saw him at Whole Foods sitting down eating. Then, so I want to give you a history of this male. He is the male that complained and said that he tasted sanitizer on his cup, on his coffee cup. He also is a male that also complained and said that I didn't want to touch his hand. And I think if I remember correctly, he mentioned about wearing gloves. I need to wear gloves. So he said I didn't want. He complained and said something about if I don't want to touch his hand, I need to wear gloves. This is and this is what some of them would speak about. Not all, but he definitely made a fuss about it. And I tried to definitely give him back the money. I documented. I don't want to speak about it right now because I documented it. I remember what I document, but I don't remember everything I said. And then another time he said when I gave him a cup of coffee, he tasted sanitizer, and that I should not give him a cup of coffee. He tasted sanitizer with sanitizer on his hand or something like that. He was complaining. And I was like, oh, okay, no problem. I threw away the cup of coffee. I gave him a whole new cup of coffee, made sure my hands were dry and everything. No one at Burger King has ever complained about tasting sanitizer. I usually try to keep my hands washed, my hands sanitized, and I prepare drinks. I bag the food. I try my best. He's the only one that complained and said he tasted sanitizer. And so Miss Phyllis really got upset about it, and I told her, I said I gave him a new cup, and I tried to make, and if I don't remember all the words she said at this moment, but I definitely remember that my days or my job was threatened. And I was like, wait, I was telling her, I tried to calm down and tell her that I was I didn't realize that there was sanitizer on the cup. If he tasted sanitizer, I don't. I was like that because he's the only one that's ever complained about tasting sanitizer on his cup. And she really got upset with me. I mean, literally, really got upset. And it's the same thing for a few weeks ago, as I was preparing French toast stick meal. One of the French toasts, this was not too long ago, fell out of the bin. So I'm putting it inside the basket, Dwayne. If you hear me, I'm putting it inside the bag. Okay, French toast. You have tongues, the red tongues, and you put one in a bag at a time, and because they're sticks, French toast sticks. One fell out of the bin, outside of the bin. There's a place where we put our hands at. Some they used to, I don't know if they still do since the coronavirus, but some will put the tongs outside of the bin, and some coworkers and the spatula. And I was questioning, should it be done? Because I was like, our hands go there sometimes. The cartons go there, should this be done? But no one, they kept doing it. So, but I didn't. I tried to make sure I kept the tongs sort of inside, but I guess in a way it's sort of contradicting because I think it's sort of contradictory because the tongues sometimes are on top. So I guess, I don't know, I think what they were trying to do is figure out the best way. I'm not sure, but food is different. So when the food came outside, when the French toast stick came outside of the bin, not in the bin where the rest of the food is, so it's outside where our hands are touching, bosses are touching, stuff like that. I asked the cook, I said, can y'all drop another French toast stick? All right, the meal was for drive-through. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to drop the French toast stick. It happened. It dropped out of the bin. And I immediately said, can you drop another French toast stick? The French toast doesn't take long to cook. I think I don't know exactly the minutes on the French toast stick, but it's less than the fries. The fries are over 2 minutes. I think it's maybe a minute and a half or a minute to cook the French toast. A minute and a half to cook. I'm not quite sure, but it's less than the fries and the onion rings, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. She really got upset with me. I mean, she walked to me and started cursing, and she was like, she used the word DAM. I'm driving up her drive-through time. She walked towards me like she was ready to fight. And I was upset. But I stayed calm. I said, I was like, Miss Phyllis, wait, it was a mistake. I didn't do it on purpose. It fell out of the bin. And she's like, something, she started to curse. I think she mentioned once again losing my job hours. And she was literally like, I mean, she approached me like I was someone on the street, like I was like ready, like a street fight. I never talked to her that way or approached her that way. So I was so surprised. And then so anyway, getting back, that was the same energy she put out when the guy mentioned about sanitizer, tasting sanitizer, and anyway, I told her once again, I said, Miss Phyllis, even at that time with the French toast stick, I told her I'm nonviolent. Okay, it was a mistake. Many times I speak of me being nonviolent. It was, and that definitely moment was a mistake. And I was thinking the best way the best solution would not be to put it in the bag because it fell outside of the bin. And the drive-through window is there. It's not just because the customer could see it, but I'm thinking about what is more sanitary. It's just like them trying to figure out what is more sanitary. Should the spatula be outside the bin or on top, or should we just leave it in? So my solution was drop another French toast stick because our hands go there. And she really got upset, really. I mean, like really in a violent way, because she walked towards me angrily. And this was like around 7:15 a.m. in the morning. I had my schedule was at 7. So that was sort of the energy she had that day. Once again, when that black male complained about tasting sanitizer on his cup. I have never spoke to Miss Phyllis outside of her name. I have never approached her in a violent way. I've always, whatever she tell me to do, I try to do it. So I didn't understand this energy. So just now, just a little while ago, I gave you the time, that same black male drove around that sits at the table for hours at a time looking at me. It sounded like he said something, but I'm not sure what he said. Right around here, this is the road. So he had to have made a right, like you're about to see this car right now, make a right. And he drove right here past me. So I'm going to show you exactly how it went. Because this car, the light's about to change and you can see it. And once again, I have never spoke to Miss Phyllis out or addressed her outside of her name. One time, she kept referring to me as girl, and I said, and I had referred back immediately. I said, girl to her, and I said, Miss Phyllis, I'm not gonna call you a girl. I corrected myself. I'm not calling you a girl. I'm not gonna. That's not right. I said, I'm not. You're not a girl. So you see this car here? This is the right, and this is how it was. And he looked at me and spoke, and said something. So I said, I've never. So once again, I just told her this. I think it was yesterday. The day is Wednesday. Even yesterday, I told her I never. Because she actually said I was slow as crap as I was at the fry station. And I told her, I said, Miss Phyllis, the onion rings they just dropped the onion rings in the bin. And that's why I haven't had it prepared. And she just said, because she was like, where is the onion ring? She said, you slow as crap. And I was like, okay. I said, Miss Phyllis, they just dropped it. And then she changed it. She said, you just slow. And I was like, and then I said it. I said, Miss Phyllis, I've never spoke or addressed you outside of your name. So these are the things I have experienced. I don't know where her animosity comes from, because once again, we don't know anyone personally. And I told her, and then she got upset once again about the rag. And this is not about her. Let me just cut this off about sanitize. This is not about her, this what I'm saying, but this is in correlation to the black male that implies to be connected to the United States Navy and Army, or a veteran that sits at the table, used to before they shut down the dining room because of the coronavirus, for hours at a time. And it's not like he was actually creating something, but because he's a customer, I try to comply or not comply, but whatever he wants. Like, okay, what else? Let me fix it. So he said, I remember he said that it seemed like I didn't want to touch his hand. I should wear gloves, if I remember correctly. I think I was humble, if I remember correctly, but I don't know exactly. I'll need to look at the documentation. And then he said about the sanitizer. I gave him a new cup. So anyway, I'm going to end this video because this is a 15-minute video. A lot of times at Burger King, in reference to spirituality, Dwayne Bey, it's not easy dealing with customer service sometimes, but it is rewarding when you are able to perform customer service at the best you can. And even when I'm spiritually attacked, where my genitals are being molested, only those that have the science of telepathy can see who's molesting the genitals. We, Imani Gray-Bey and I, Rhonda Arrington-Bey, we don't have the science of telepathy as natural divine beings. Natural divine beings as Moorish Americans. We don't have the science of telepathy. We reject the science of telepathy. So we cannot molest someone's genitals in the public. But this, I have experienced this several times at Burger King. We cannot send sharp pains to cause disease. Dis-ease. When I say dis-ease, that's D-I-S-EASE. We cannot send sharp pains to make someone feel sick, to make them have to go to the hospital, to have weight upon their backs. You know, some of these spirits can actually engage and make it seem like you have weight upon your back, and if they do it so many times, you think you're having a back problem, and you might go to the hospital to do that. We can't do things like that because we don't have that ability to do that, and we wouldn't want to do that as natural, free, divine beings who have taken an oath and affirm to uphold these constitutional laws of freedom. We wouldn't want to do that. These are acts of terrorism by unnatural demonic spirits that are used as weapons of mass destruction. So these are the things I have experienced spiritually and mentally while earning money at Burger King. But yet, you know, I still able to perform customer service, and that's a wonderful thing. And earn money is important, and implement my constitutional rights to earn money as a Hebrew Muslim and Moorish American Islam. That's it. So I'm going to post this because I find it odd seeing him on this road. And if he would have just kept driving, that's one thing. But he actually looked at me, and he looked like he said something, but I don't know what he said, because he definitely made sure that he knows we know his car, because he's there. He used to be there for hours at a time, sitting there with a group of them, Islam.